All right. Trying this here. Seeing if we can Facebook being a pain in the butt. Let's see if we can do live video via YouTube instead, and hopefully the audio is better. So I'll hop back over to the author page so that folks over there can know where to go. I'm hoping the URL is working. All right. Not sure if that actually works. Let's see if I can grab the URL. Oh, good. So this sounds better. Good. So I think the URL that I just posted is from the studio. So if, hey, Bronwyn, I'm not quite sure if that's going to work for people from Facebook. I know that some of you know exactly where to join in from, but I didn't grab the URL before I jumped in. So what's this? Ah, there it is. Let's grab that. I go back. I know this is the exciting part because that's not going to get anybody anywhere. Delete that, otherwise people will be confused. Nope. Sorry, it'll be very exciting. This is my here we go, doing live video. Hopefully it's better than before. And let me grab the other one, post it there. I know it's very exciting. It's very exciting, but I promise it will gear up and maybe you'll get a kitten too. All right. The promise of kittens. Oh, nope, the kitten has now gone downstairs. He followed Nathan down the stairs. All right. So let me just pop it one more place. Y'all hanging in there with me. Hi, Frank. What's it like in Long Beach? Oh, hi, Amber from Portugal. Oh. So as I was saying back over on Facebook, it's 90 degrees today in New England, which is quite toasty, and I'm pretty sure that is true from Massachusetts at least down to DC. I don't know how it is in the further down, so it is quite a lot of degrees. Hey, Julia. Hi, Taz was. So I'm sure Taz was. You're dealing with a lot of temperature, a lot of degrees as well. So I'm just posting this in one more place. All right, we are here in set. Sorry. Okay, this is where I need to train the cats to be a personal secretary and like, okay, go post the URL in all these places. All right, so hi, yay! So we have better sound. This is good. Hopefully, better video. I don't know how long the lag is here. Oh, Julie, it's hot in PA. Yes, yeah, it is. I think it's supposed to change come tomorrow. So hopefully, I'm doing a thing. So as I was saying earlier, I was working on a painting, and it's a painting that I started back at the end of May. I think it might have been the middle of May. I have to go look back on Patreon to see where I first started posting her. But just yay! You can hear good. I just really got it back into painting this last week. June was just it was a month. Right? It was a month, and I guess most of July has been a month. So it's been kind of hard to get into. I don't even have the microphone plugged in, so we'll just put that aside. See, we have good sound, and we don't even have the microphone. And so I started this painting and several other projects, and I just didn't have it in me to paint. It's a very, you have to be in the mood. But I just finished her up, and this is Queen Nanny of the Maroons. And so it's kind of going into the working with magical practitioners as well as magical resistance. So Queen Nanny is a historical figure Really fascinating stories, and I read a whole bunch of different things about her, several different podcasts, and they all had conflicting information, which makes sense when you think about that the British are the ones who wrote most of the stories about her, so there's a lot of bullshit. But like, just so much conflicting information, even from historical sources, from stories coming from Ghana, where she supposedly originated, and like who she was and what she did and all of that. But was really really fascinated by her. Thinking about her, I was thinking about Emma Catherine had done a presentation that involved talking about her at the Magical Women's Conference in London last year, and it had just popped in my head back in May, and I was like, oh, I thought about it, I found it really interesting. I had heard of Queen Nanny before, but I didn't know that she also was a magical practitioner. And so that fit in with, I've been working on this series of different paintings that are inspired by women and other unusual magical practitioners as well, from folklore and from history. So we can talk about Aradia, as has been one of the pieces, actually, comparison. This is a print, it's not a painting. I have a couple pieces that are going off. Now, we're going back to supposedly somewhere between the 13th and 15th century, if not older, depending on who you talk to about Aradia. But, also Marie Laveau is someone that I'm working on sketches for a while for a painting, but Queen Nanny kind of butted in there. And so I'm really glad to get her situated and done. And maybe Marie will be next. We'll see about that. So what's also was interesting was to research more about what tools that she might have had. There's interesting folklore about cauldrons. So for those of you who know, I have a thing about cauldrons. And so whether she actually had a cauldron that could entrap and possibly kill or maim soldiers, or if it was a water feature, part of where the Maroons were set up, that there was a waterfall there that was dangerous and slick and that could trap people. So we don't know if it actually was a cauldron, but there is a space. There is an actual feature there that some people say, well, maybe they were talking about this part of the waterfall for the rapids, but I had to put the cauldron in there too. And then doing some research into some of the herbs and plants and folklore of Jamaica. That was also fun. So she's in what I call the stare at phase, which is where I will just sort of look at her off and on and go back and do a little more. So she'll be up on website, and I'm probably gonna do a blog post too. I'm gonna see if Emma has. I think Emma's lecture is up either on YouTube or on her personal channel. So I'm gonna I should tap her and see about getting that, so you can experience her lecture from the Magical Women's Conference and learn a little bit more about Queen Nanny too. And I'll find the links for the different podcasts. So like I said, they're very, very conflicting. But that's kind of the thing, especially when you have somebody who is feared by the patriarchy and by white men. You get some very interesting stories, a lot of bullshit as well. So it's very hard to find fact from fiction. But she definitely had an impact, and I felt like she needed some more art that was as inspiring as she is. So there's that. So how are you all doing? We have sound. This is good. It looks like we have video, and it is like, I don't even know. I think we're going at a new moon, right? So really, I don't know where July went. We've had a couple of these months where they just dragged on. I know that June was like this experience, and now we're going almost through July, and I can't even fathom that. In 2 weeks we'll be in August. So things are moving around. But full moon, new moon coming up. Yep. Headway tomorrow. Won't that be fun? And so we usually talk about what's going on in the garden as well. And so over here, it's still zucchini central. None of the other, the amazing amount of squash plants happening, but none of them have are doing anything except for the zucchini. So now we have like produced now like 5 zucchini, I think now that are this big, and redistributing them. I have 2 heirloom tomato plants that are just full of green tomatoes. So we're running around in tomatoes too soon. And the datura plant is taking off. And I have little smaller daturas that are going to go in the ground soon too. So see, we finally had a big thunderstorm, a couple of days of rain this past week after a whole week that said, it's going to storm, it's going to storm. And I'm like, yes, it's going to storm. And then it didn't. It didn't. So finally, I think it was Monday into Tuesday, we've gotten a lot of rain, which has helped the plants. And we water them every day. But so Laurie said March, April, May, and June dragged on. July's first. Oh, that's good, right? Things are picking up. Maybe a little bit in there. I'm going to check back over here on this page and make sure folks, okay, good. Folks have figured out where we are. So can grow datura inside or start from inside over winter. So I had some seeds that a friend gave me that unfortunately lived inside my backpack where I was on tour for a while, and those did nothing. So I tried to start those in March. And then while we went, finally kind of decided, I think it was in April, that we'd go out, maybe it was May, that we would try going out into the world. We went to a nursery because it was fairly safe and open. As we were picking practical plants, I spotted a nice little datura, and it was a weed, and put the little weed plant out there, and it is as big as me. It is huge. It's crazy. So I think it's just a matter of the viable seeds. And I'm sure you could grow them inside, though. If you are growing them inside, I would be very cautious of small children, plants, people, etc., because you're dealing with a fair amount of poison. So I know in some places they grow all year round. So it's just a matter of what your temperature is. So Bridget, I don't know. It seems like we had much better sound. So maybe check your volume. Unless everybody else has it gone low again? That would be frustrating. Oh, and the other little daturas that I have, my friend Elizabeth had a bunch of wee ones, and so we were trading. Like, here's mystery squash, just because I had so many squash plants started. I'm like, please have some squash, and so she gave me some little daturas that weren't quite doing it for a while, but now they've kicked in, and I'm hoping those are going to be supposedly those daturas. They have the purple in them, and they are more of a fall growth in here. So yeah. So cat and dog, yeah, you don't want them. If you especially, I mean, dogs will eat anything, and cats, if they're bored, will try something. So that's you don't want to do that. Make sure that you try it outside. And in Pennsylvania, you should have a decent growing season, depending on what it is. They're probably starting them now. Yeah. Depends on your seeds. Otherwise, I'd say when we get around to spring again, start them inside in March somewhere, maybe in a garage or a little cloche, and then you'll have something decent. Because again, they really just like kind of fake you out. They're like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to be huge. So it's like when I got the first flower, I'm like, it's going to do one flower. Isn't that wonderful? And I got one thorn apple. Isn't that wonderful? And now it's like I've lost count. Like I've gone past the like, look at every beautiful bloom to like, well, now it's got 3 or 4 going on there, and there's tons of thorn apples, and it is a monster, which I think is wonderful, and it's doing its thing. So, all right. And today I just have tea, which is probably not a great idea for me to be drinking tea at this time. I'll regret it later, but it's all right. It's right? So thought it might be good to, it's been, I don't know if I did this last week. I don't think I pulled a card. So let us dip into the Oracle. Yeah, I think that would be smarter to wait until spring. And what I'm going to do next year is, so our yard, we put in a few beds this year that kind of give some curves to the yard, but we are going to take out our lawn completely in the backyard. We already have a fire pit. We're going to landscape a spiral into it, a little bit like a labyrinth or a spiral, not like a super hardcore labyrinth because it's not that big, but just something that gives more swirly shape to the yard. And then I'm going to have certain beds in there that we'll have just for pollinators, and we'll give some of our other plants room to grow out, and the poison plants can be in their own space. So looking forward to that. My henbane that I started back in March, I think again in April, is taking its sweet time. It is as well. The foxglove doesn't. The foxgloves are going, but they're also quite small. I mean, they're not going to do anything until next year. So they work. But I do have a little clary sage. Another one has popped up too, so that's exciting. The little clary sage is doing its thing. So next year that will be something lovely as well. So let's see what we got here. Notice we have some folks who were in the tarot class yesterday, which is the super duper version. Oh, excellent! I love clary's just it's a lovely thing, and I have some. I think it's an oil tincture that Harold Roth gave me. That's just a lovely tincture of clary sage that you should probably work with as well. It just has a nice aroma to it, and it's a fun little plant. It has a really interesting energy to it, and every time I grow it, I'm just like, you're a neat little dude. You know, like you can grow several of them, or try to grow. You can sow a bunch of seeds, and I find it's like only one or two come for every batch. And I don't know if it's like just me, only me can be the clary sage. There can only be one. Apparently, that's how it works in my yard. So, but I'm hoping the henbane will get its butt in a row. I think I have to ignore it. I'm pretty sure henbane is one of the few that I just have to ignore it and not pay attention to it. It's going to do its thing. Because when I try to help it, it does not go well. All right, so let's see. Our card for today is, maybe we might have had this the last time, but could have been on Patreon. Today is fiber. So fiber, in terms of plant or animal material, things that we weave, and so this can be plant, animal, or insect as well, if you think about it. So fiber is about connections. It is the spaces in between. It's very liminal. It's one of the most liminal. I'm going to pull up the description in here. So with the harnessing of fiber, we brought forth cloth. Again, changing how we evolved into civilization, right? So this is part of the, so fiber is one of the artifacts in the Liminal Spirits Oracle. The artifacts are the other bone, crystal, metal, and clay. And these are the things that we work with, right? That have an essence of their own, a spirit of their own. And then as they're transformed into a material, a tool, they take on another essence. And then there's a third essence that happens as they're used over time. So that as you work with a piece of cloth or a sacred tool, worth a skull, etc., there's another essence that happens to it. So the fiber we make our threads from can be plant or animal in nature: cotton, hemp, bamboo, flax, wool, silk, etc. Our understanding of fiber led the way to creation of many arts that we still practice today. I'm sure some of you are wonderful artists in these things: weaving, spinning, and basketry. Right. There was a thread I saw on Twitter last night. I think it was a repost of one of the Am I the Asshole threads from Reddit about this guy's wife who built this giant loom. And apparently she speaks Greek and Latin and is so into like all of the the history of that and the process of that, and she made her own garments from the loom. But he was like, I think it's stupid to wear it. And everyone's like, we'll take your wife. I'm like, this is some lady I would like to meet. Like, she's built a loom and then she wove stuff and she's wearing it. And that's pretty boss. It's pretty awesome. So it takes great skill to produce threads that are consistent and useful, which may explain the association of good, dependable people being of solid moral fiber. We also connect fiber with the fates, the mythical weavers who form, measure, and cut the threads of our lives. So yes, the fates. So our messages from this is to recognize the threads that connect you to the people around you. Together, you create a pattern that is evidence of a sacred bond. And I'm going to expand on that because I feel like this touches in with the blog post I just put up the other day, which is the winded wooded path to witchcraft. Is there are so many intricate connections, for better or for worse, that we have in our lives. We have family structures. We have our other social types of structures. We have the people we're friends with, the people that we work with, the people that we encounter in every day. Like, these are all threads that lend themselves to our lives, right? For better or for worse, these things happen. And when we come into contact with people, like, even just the smallest little interactions can have a profound impact. So keep that in mind. This also asks for patience and fortitude. So when you're weaving something, whether you're spinning, whether you are working on a loom or doing a basket, right, there's a sense of patience. You might be able to kind of trance out as you're doing it, but you don't want to rush. It's not something that works rushed because the threads rebel to that. And we tend to think of fate as something that we are subject to, but we have a say in how we weave our patterns. So you get to take control of your own thread. So 3 really good, as I must say for myself, those are 3 good messages about what we could be looking at as we go into this week, right? How we are connected to people, to have patience, to become more focused on the process rather than the result, and to realize that you do have control over what's going on in your life, right? Even as we are impacted by these other threads that surround us, that we still have choices, right? To own up to responsibility. So we have that. I'm going, has the chat window doing its thing? I know you're there. Mara, it's the last one that I'm seeing. Hopefully you're still there. Otherwise, I feel like it's going to explode on me in a moment and there'll be 50 comments, which has happened before. Other interesting things. So I just got this to review and I just popped it out of its envelope. And is the Women 2021 planner. And this has been around. This has been around for quite a long time because I remember when I was a little witchlet. I wasn't doing pagan publishing with Crescent Magazine. We had either a trade or something with them, and it's neat to see that it's still around. It's also really neat to see, usually when you start to see the interesting spellings of the word woman, that you can run into turf territory. But their mission statement includes that we're supporting people who are not necessarily identifying as women. It also includes honoring trans women and those who are in the outside gender binary as well. So pretty neat. I haven't had time to really look into this one. It's always got some really interesting art. I am terrible at planners though. I put it on my desk, I have it open, and like for a day or two, I'm like, yes, I can see what day it is, and that's a neat image. And then 3 weeks later, it's still on that page. So I know some folks are really good with it. And what's neat is that they do have the phases of the moon in here, and they have different astrological hours and other things that are noted. So you can kind of see that in here, and I'll have a little thing about different practices and such. So kind of neat It's come from Mother Tongue Ink, and they're based up in Oregon, across the way in Oregon. So I'll probably give a little bit more write-up on that. I will give a write-up on that as I get to it. Like I said, it just came. So need to look and to reflect on that. I think they also do calendars, big calendars and other such things too. So, yay. Yeah, and especially the cover this year is really, I could probably pull, I think still sitting on my desk is the one for this year, but like, look at the cover. It's really beautiful artwork. I know that they have invited me to submit artwork as well, which I'll get there. But here's, for example, okay, so I have one. This is this year's, sitting on my desk under a pile of things. Highly effective, right? It is on June 29th to July 3rd. All right, so I am almost a month behind in changing the page. So this is why, part of the reason why planners don't work for me. The few things that really work for me as a regular use that I'm going to know that I'm going to look at is the Witch's Almanac. And I'm referring to the Witch's Almanac, the LTD Limited, and the Elizabeth Pepper based Witch's Almanac, which I also write for. So yes, but it's something that I've had ever since I was a witchlet. It was one of the first things I bought. I'm like, this is just in stores, and it's like it's about witchcraft, right? So I keep that in the bathroom. It's my favorite place to keep it because that's where I'm going to be like, have a few moments, to, a couple times a day to sit down and be like, let me check and see where's the moon at, what's coming up. And then it's so full of wonderful folklore, mythology, witch wisdom and such. And so especially since that you get one whole page of them, like a month at a glance, a lunar month at a glance, that it's a little easier for me to feel like I'm not falling behind. I'm glad you can hear now, Bridget. Because that's the thing, it's like as soon as you've missed a page, you're like, oh crap, and then like 3 pages later. But I know some other people are far better at keeping on top of these things. See, and they wouldn't even have to look at that calendar behind me, right? Because it just tells me right here that tomorrow is the new moon. That I've also read about that. But instead, I just tend to feel it. But it has. I like the diversity of the artwork that the Blue Moon has. This is a neat little piece of artwork in here too. Look at that. This is for this year. It's a little tiny cauldron. So it's really nice and decent. I have a feeling the Llewellyn ones for next year also, at least the ones I contributed to, are on their way here. I haven't seen the calendar yet. I forgot what I wrote for, because with Llewellyn we're often writing almost 2 years, a year and a half in advance for those publications. So we're in 2020, so 2021 is coming out, but I wrote 2021 back in 2019. However it is, it's even a longer lead than when I worked in the jewelry industry, where you'd be like 6 months in advance. You'd be in the middle of summer and you're designing the winter jewelry or the spring jewelry. It was very disconcerting. It's like, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time. And so weird things about publishing. Remember, publishing takes a lot longer than anybody thinks it does. Of course, we have publishing now where you can just print on demand and you can self-publish and such, and so it seems very instantaneous. But with traditional publishing houses, it's a lot of work, especially like, whether it's Llewellyn or Weeman, there's dozens of different people involved in the submissions of writing material, to chart everything out, to lay it all out, to make sure it's right, to proof it. And so there's a lot of work that goes into these. And you think they only get used for a year at a time. So it's kind of an interesting amount of effort that goes in. So, anybody have questions? Oh, There's a kitten on the floor. He's playing with something right now. I don't know if you can hear the little jingle. But if he calms down, I will pick him up so that you can all see a kitten. How you doing? You wanna, oh, hi. Hi. Oh. You see the people? No, of course you can't see the people because this is not Zoom. How you doing? You excited about things? You wanna get around on my desk and do stuff? Hit me with your long tail. Look at this tail. Don't look at the. He's like, I'm a cat. Have you seen my butt? Because cats are great like that. Yes, he is a beautiful cat. Thank you, Bridget. I'm looking forward to see as he grows. Like, I love that he's this size and that he's tiny, but I'm really excited to see what the mature Max will look like. Because he's a little. Still has his kitten fur and his kitten whiskers. Check these whiskers out. I don't know if you guys can see them, but they're a little wonky. They're two-tone in some places, and then the ones that are growing outside of his cheeks are just sort of like almost like straw. So he's very adorable, and he's got some of his hair is very fluffy, and some of the tabby hairs are doing strange things. So I think once he gets mature, he's probably going to be a very velvety cat with gorgeous, luscious whiskers. But right now, he's a little. Hi. You're handsome. You're very handsome. And I have paint on me. Oh, that tends to happen too. So, oh, hi. Oh, you want to play with my earrings? Okay, that's fine. This is what I'm here for. I am just a cat toy. These earrings, by the way, are by Maria LaFrance. She's in Seattle. And so there's the copper. Yes, it's copper. Very tasty, right? And these crystals. She does beautiful earrings and different types of jewelry. I always have seen her at events when I lived in Seattle, but I'm pretty sure she has a website. So I'm going to put that in there. If you're interested in beautiful creations, right, that are often using natural materials. I know she uses leather. She does some indigenous beading. She's also indigenous as well, a mixture, as many of us are. And it's beautiful, beautiful, powerful, witchy, gorgeous jewelry. That's refined. Like these are a nice weight, but they're not super heavy. I have a few other things by her as well. But you can check her out. I know she's on Facebook too. So I'm sorry, do you have allergies, Evelyn? It is rough. And though there are, I feel like everybody should have a cat. I have some friends who do really well with the Sphinx cats. And I know some people don't like the look of Sphinx cats. I think they're wonderfully creepy. Bless you, Max. Yes. But there is also my nephew. Actually, it's not necessarily so much my nephew, but as my brother is allergic. But they have a kind of it's not a rag doll, but I think it's in the same family. There's a hypo. It is a cat that is less likely to trigger your allergies, and they've been doing really well with that. So, but she's a floofy cat, like a rag doll, but I think there's a specific name for it. So I am a little out of my specifics there. So what else we have going on? So we got coming up this week. This is the and like we still have, it's technically 5 weeks in June. Not June. We're in July again. What is time? Where are we? So coming up this weekend, Saturday the 25th, I have Sigil Witchery, so doing that again. And we just have three or four spots left for that Sigil Witchery. We've been doing about once a month right now. And then doing the following week on the Thursday is a repeat of what I just did yesterday, which is my tips for tarot. which is some more unusual tricks and variations with the tarot, how to learn it quicker, how to be able to use the system to apply it to almost any deck that you're working with, any tarot deck. So then the repeat of that class is on the 30th, and that one still has room. So this last one sold out pretty quick. So, you'll get to visit cats too. That's good. At least you get to. Yes, our friend Shakira. She's watching right now either, but she got to meet Max. We did some social distancing yesterday, and she has allergies and asthma, so she like snuggled on him and then cleansed, and also she had just had her allergy shots too. So it's the passing of the kitten, because it's kind of the bummer is that normally we do like to be social and have lots of friends over and do concerts and games and things like that, but of course we are very focused on keeping social distancing, make sure everybody's healthy in our household, and of all of our friends and family. So a lot of folks don't want to get to experience the kitten in pictures, so we're trying to document the kitten as much as possible so that people can enjoy, because kittens are medicine. So we got classes. I know also the next Thursday after that, August 6th, I'm teaching the Witch's Art and Craft of Ritual, and that is through the Robin's Nest. So if you go look up the Robin's Nest in Bellingham, Massachusetts, we'll be doing a virtual workshop there too. So Dawn asks, is your tarot class good for beginners? Yes. Yes, it is essentially for anybody at any level, but particularly if you are beginning or intermediate. If you want to learn the tarot, or you have a few decks and you're just like, I can't get started, it's definitely for that. It's a very simple system that would go through that. It makes it a lot easier to learn, especially if you feel overwhelmed. I mean, it's very easy to be overwhelmed by the tarot because you have 78 cards, right? Yay. Oh, thanks, Evelyn. Yay. We did. It was so yesterday we ran over a bit because the last time that I actually did it with Patreon folks, and I forgot I did that in 2 sessions, which were about 45 minutes each, but putting it all together, and people had really good questions. So I tend to start to streamline things so I can get them down to 90 minutes to 2 hours. But we're still having fun. Have fun regardless. So yes, it's kind of thing is I want people to feel like these tools are accessible, and I know that it can be really overwhelming, and to feel like, oh, I've got these things, but how do I use them? And especially now with pandemic and not being able to easily go and attend classes, I know that for me, starting out, being able to sit down with somebody and work with them. So yeah, it was about to, yeah. I mean, we closed it up. I think it's at 152 minutes, 153 from beginning to start. Though I think that is some folks who were there. So I discovered yesterday, I was wondering, I noticed, I try to check everybody off as they're coming in for the class. Hold on, there's a kitten getting into something. What are you into? What are you into? Oh, it's a rock. Oh, it's a little piece of crystal. Huh. There's a little crystal that he's playing with. I don't know where that came from, but it's not for kittens. So I looked up. I'm like, can you tell? Because I figure like it would make sense that you should be able to know who attended your online presentation through Zoom. And it took some finagling, but I did finally figure it out. Where it has a logins, and they can see how long people logged in, or if they had to log in multiple times, if they had connection problems. So that was really, really helpful to know that. So I saw like the longest was from beginning to end 153 minutes, but some folks had, I think I started at like 10 of, we started logging in. So you figure we probably had at least 15 minutes of, 10 minutes beforehand, usually a few minutes before we officially start the class. So it's like 5 minutes after. And then we had a lot of discussion after that. So, at that point, It's maybe was 2 hours and 15 minutes altogether. I think Bridget. Oh, thanks, Dawn. I love your sigil class. Yay! Yeah, I like when things make people get excited, inspire people to be excited about methods and trying them for themselves. Again, that accessibility, because I don't think that magic should be like, you must read these texts that make no sense, that have been cribbed by somebody else to sound even more important than they are, and pieced together by some guy who's like, ha, I shall make even more magical for more, and other kind of bullshit. Versus like, people need to get stuff done. Like, there's a reason why with Aradia, the idea you teach the people, and she wasn't coming down to earth. I know it's a myth, but the idea is she wasn't coming down to teach the rich people how to get shit done. Like, they're fine. This is about everyday people tapping into their magic and their personal power. So that makes me very excited. But Bridget, I really think so. The other day, Nathan and I went for a walk, and I think this is a rock that was caught in my shoe. That's probably what it came from, but it actually is a little piece of quartz. So while I don't think he stole it, I do think apparently I'm attracting random pieces of quartz. How witchy is that? Shiny rocks come my way. Only in my shoes, though. Don't throw them at me. Don't throw rocks at witches. What are you getting into now? You want to come back up? You want to come back up? Oh, who's got a purr? Who's got a purr? Oh, he smells so good, too. Kitten huffing. In the toes of the, oh, that's funny. So he hides them in shoes. I guess that's really fun, right? You know, because you can put him in the shoe and then you can bat him around in there. You have to think like a cat. It's better than like bugs or scorpions or things like that, though. Getting in your shoes. Dropping. I would often find the little toy mice. Those would sometimes show up in my shoes. So it hasn't happened in a while. Hi. How you doing? You gonna hang out right here? Yeah? You smell good. I already told you that. There's repeating. Look at those pretty eyes. They're still changing. Let's see where his eyes are going to be. Are they going to be more green? Are they going to be more yellow? Yeah. Oh, I'm tasty. I'm tasty. He does this cute. Oh, now we're going for the other earring. This is what I'm here for, everybody. Your entertainment, and especially the cat's entertainment. Now we're going for the monochrome. Yes. So, oh, and earlier when I picked him up, actually Nathan had given him to me, and I held him, and he put his paw like right underneath my shirt, and then was like copping the feel. So I think he was going for that. It's like, let me put my paws in there again. It's very warm and toasty. It's a little air conditioned in here. You want to hang out in my lap? That's good. So yeah. Oh, now he's off. He's off on important cat business. So we'll do this for a couple more minutes. I'm getting hungry, and I like food. But you guys know that. I like food. So do you have any other witchcraft-related questions or magic-related questions that I can help you all with? Let's see. Again, I don't know how long the delay is in here. I know sometimes when I'm helping Nathan with his concert, which is on Tuesday nights, Nathaniel Johnstone on YouTube, and that there's sometimes upwards of like 15 to 20-second delay on YouTube. Also, I think he wires in, and I am upstairs on the Wi-Fi. So, who knows? And the only reason that I know what the delay is because I'm watching him on my computer on the Wi-Fi from his computer to make sure that things are going on to see that. But there are over 20 of you here, and you're just watching mesmerized. She's got to do something entertaining. That cat's going to come back and chew on her earrings. It's going to be great. Well, since we do have a new moon tomorrow, and some of you are probably already feeling the new moon, keep in mind this is a good time for self-energy and working with kind of being also kinder to yourself. Hey, Frank. So Frank's asked, what has been the most creative and artful expression you've experienced in a ritual? And Nova, I'll get to your question next. So, gosh, Frank, I have done so many rituals and been involved in so many rituals over the years. But I think probably one of my favorite ones that really brought in creativity and artistry is I'm gonna pull from, actually it's kind of tied between two, is the Hecate at the Crossroads. And so at Hecate at the Crossroads is a ritual that Nathan and I have done in many different places and many different configurations, but we have done it twice with Suj Tucker, S.J. Tucker. And the first, I'm not sure if this was the first or the second. So we've done it at Many Gods West, where Suj, was it Suj? I'm going to back up. Maybe Suj wasn't there. That was a good one too, though. Sorry, so this is where my memory goes. Of course, Suj is always in my place, so even when I don't have her. So, but I'm pretty sure Suj was at that one too. So we had one at Many Gods West, and then we had one at Pantheon. And I think that the first one that we did was at Pantheon. This is why it's all getting confused in my head. So a couple of years ago at Pantheon, we had the big room and tasked with how do you create an elaborate experience, right? Of really like going into a cave sort of feeling in a giant ballroom. So we were able to play with the lighting. We figured out how we were going to open up the space, how people were going to sit down. It's like, so these little tiny directions, right, that suddenly created like that you were in this big cavern, right, like a dark cave-like space. And Nathan was creating music, and Suj was doing these vocalizations that were just amazing. And then, of course, I was being, as Hecate, veiled, right, in there as well. And just the feeding of energy and the working between what Nathaniel and Suj were doing and what I was doing, and then like 200 people in the room, and what happened in that space was just incredible. So that is like that art in motion. It isn't so much it is a visual art in that we're able to transform the space using light and design, right? Just simple things that we could do without bringing in stuff. Like you didn't have to bring in trees and and fabrics and extra special lighting. It was just what we had with the space. And the one that we did at Many Gods West also had so Suj and Nar, I think Phoenix and Guion were also in that one too. And again, you're transforming a hotel space into something amazing. Hi, Kitten. And that everybody else feels it and participates in it. That's amazing. So those have probably been two of my most favorite rituals. And also it's all improvised as well. Like we just have a general idea of what's going to happen. Like we're going to do this, maybe this will happen, but there's like no planned invocations. There's no, this is when we're going to stop. This is when we're going to start. People have to do this here. Do have to do that there. It's a little bit more loose. It's more like how people are going to come in, and then we're going to see what happens. And that type of ecstatic ritual is my favorite kind, that just everything weaves together in the moment, the sound, the lighting, the people's energy and experience. So that's what I'd say. So I hope that answers your question, Frank. And Nova asks, any suggestions, new moon work with the dead? Okay. So it is, some people do consider it an easier time to work with the dead because of the new moon. The darkness. So this would be a good time. I wouldn't, I won't say I wouldn't. I would say that if you, it's probably good to work with like trying to connect with one or two particular entities rather than like all of the ancestors, but it depends on what you want to do with that. But for this time of year, probably trying to focus in on one and creating a little altar space or working to deal with that one person that has passed on will probably be easier than trying to do a big grand working. But it depends on how you're feeling. Like if you got signs that you're like, the ancestors say you should do this thing now, and you're just a, bless you, Max, easy kitten. The ancestors are like, we need you to connect with us now, and you need to have the sambuca out, and you need to prepare this meal, and you got to do that thing, then I would do that. But if you're just wondering like what to do with the new moon and you want to work with somebody who's passed on that you're close to or you want to connect with more, then setting that up and maybe just having a little tea or a drink or having a meal with them and giving yourself some quiet time to deal with that. That's a good way of doing it. So that's what I would say, Nova. You could also use an oracle with that time too to see if there's any messages that you might get. It depends on your mediumship. Like some people can pull a tarot card and feel like, wow, this is the message that I'm getting from the ancestors, an oracle card or a rune. Other people want to scry. Some people will do channeling, which usually involves other people as well. So, and oh, good. I'm glad that you like those phrases, Frank. Excellent. So those are two good questions. So we have a little something to focus on for the new moon and think about, yes, ritual, those tie in together really nice too, because you think about it, is I'm saying in the ecstatic rituals, like you have an idea of what's going to happen, but don't over plan things. When it comes to ritual, I think we tend to get this idea that, you know, whether it's coming from certain grimoire and ceremonial traditions, which are also often theatrical traditions, when you're looking at the history of like what bred into Wicca and to modern day ceremonial groups, like there's a lot of theater involved, and it's very scripted because you have all different people and different props and all this kind of stuff. But keeping it simple, having an idea of what you want to have happen, and being open to the possibilities are going to create much more powerful, impactful ritual. It's going to have you more open and listening rather than I have to do this, I have to stick to the script, and then we got to do that. I think we lose some of that when we over script or over plan our rituals. So kind of just see what you're inspired by. What are you listening to? What do you feel should be happening? And I think things will be more profound for you rather than, again, over plan. Leave space. Leave space for the magic to happen. I feel like that should be that should be a thing. Leave space for the witchcraft to happen in your life. That's why you're all here. You just want to see me be goofy and say things like that. All right. I am feeling my stomach saying, I need food. So I'm going to go work on that. So thank you all for visiting with me. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay healthy. Be smart about things. And oh, hi, Alpha Waves from Portugal. Yay. That's Portugal. Places I would like to go. Can't wait to travel again. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you all. I'm glad you came in to hang out, and should see you again next week. And if you think of more questions, you can also pop them into my into the author page on Facebook, and I'll try to incorporate them and hopefully tag you to let you know that things are going on there too. So thank you for joining me here on YouTube instead of over on Facebook. We'll be figuring this out. If Facebook continues to have sound issues, then we might be just doing it here. So I will try to see what we can do to coordinate so that people on both platforms can find things. So, all right, y'all, take care. Go forth. Be witchy.